Preamble. This is not in any way effort to write biography, but definitely I am fond of reading and writing. I took the opportunity to divert my mind in this pandemic of COVID-19 and in free time I started writing my memories and also like to share my some old posts on social media. My memories shared in this document do not contain anything related to my office position and my social memories. This is broadly regarding the issues which anyone may like to read. Some details of my grandparents are given so that my children may read, sometimes in future to know about their ancestors. The content in this document also contains some names. I think the reference given does not hurt their sentiments. About Amils. About our ancestor, Amils. Since ancient times, Hindus in India have remained divided into castes like Khatris, Lohanas etc. Castes actually denote the original professions followed by the families in which people were born. Those who migrated to Sindh from various corners also belonged to different castes. Some of them were followers of Sikhism. Thus many different faiths, castes and cultures gathered in Sindh. That is why we Amils have no single caste and are casteless. Those migrants who acquired education and became scholars were called as Alim or Vidyawan. Those that after getting education put the education into action, the word for action being Amal, were called Amils, and those Hindus that entered the government service were Aled Amils and Diwans. From written sources collected by an eminent author, Barumal Maharchand, in 1919, from newspapers, historical publications, personal interviews, it was found that most of the Amils then residing in Sindh had come from nearby Multan and unchanged in Punjab. A few Amils were Khatri Lohana, which are warriors by caste who embraced Sikhism while in Punjab. They migrated to Sindh after Hindus came under persecution and evil influence when Aurangzeb became emperor. Such persecutions and evil influence usually forces victimized people to flee the place of their residence. Many consider this as one of the major reasons for migration from Punjab and other places to Sindh, which was ruled by Talpurs also. It may not be necessary that the ancestors of present-day Amils migrated only because of Aurangzeb's persecution. This may have been the initial cause of migration to Sindh that probably commenced from 1670. Thereafter some people went to Sindh for the sake of service with Sindh rulers or for business and settled down there. In the case of some, it is certain that they went to Sindh for the sake of service only. Journey of my grandparents from Karachi to Udaipur, Kutch. My grandparents left Karachi, Pakistan in July 1948, thereafter settled in Baroda, now Vadodara, in block number 28, Warsaw Colony from July 48 to January 1950, thereafter settled in Camp 1 Ulhasnagar from January 1950. Ulhasnagar, originally known as Kalyan Military Transit Camp, or Kalyan Camp. Ulhasnagar was set up especially to accommodate 6,000 soldiers and 30,000 others during World War II. There were 2,126 barracks and about 1,173 housed personnel. The majority of barracks had large central halls with rooms attached to either end. The camp had a deserted look at the end of the war and served as a ready and commercial, ideal ground for partition victims. Sindhis, in particular, began life anew in the new land. After the partition of India, over 100,000 Sindhi-speaking refugees from the newly created West Pakistan were relocated to deserted military camps 5. My grandparents got themselves registered as refugee with registration officer, Baroda, with registration certificate number 299 dated July 15, 1948. My grandfather was having agriculture land with property index number was TP/9/314, 173 acres 28 gudas of agriculture land in Dandi Taluka Samaro. They submitted the claim against evacuated property to the settlement officer. Here word De means habitation where group of people lives and Dandi is the name of habitation. The most interesting content is that the land was irrigated by barrage canal with rice. Restrictions, that means except rice we can cultivate anything as rice need lot of water. This was the most interesting concept of water management. Main crop in Samaro Taluka is cotton, other crops like sugra cane, chilies, wheat and other grains. There were 3 barrage canals, Dar, Kapro and Mithro. Village De was near Mifti hence may be irrigated through Mithro barrage canal. Map shows that the village de was excately to north my present hometown Adaprakash. In spite of proof of 173 acres, claim was only admissible for 111 acres and amount was only 24,000 rupees. My grandfather Sri Kalachand was not living with my grandmother, but separately living in 35 Wali, in one of the house of Motaram who was having agency of batteries. At that time we were living in CCX 31, Nav Wali. As I remember I was almost in lower KG, or may not be going to school. My grandfather used to come to our house 1 or 2 times in a month and often came with fruits and snacks. He incidentally expired at our house at CCX. My grandmother Devabhai Kalachand was living in SDB 90 in only one room. Rest of the house was given on rent to Sri Prithviraj Sharma, who was Sanskrit professor at Tolani Arts College. I remember that one day she was going to grocery shop in CCX area and some dogs barked at her and she fell and her bone of leg was broken. At that time sufficient orthopedic facilities were not available in the town. She was treated at Vadodara, Baroda. Also my father's 2 sisters used to live there. She was moved to Vadodara in train and lost her life in Vadodara, and last rites were performed there only. Financially my father was not so sound to bear the expenses of bringing her body to Adipur. There was no means of communication and we came to know about our demise by postcard from my father. It was about in year 1975, maybe I was studying in 4th or 5th standard. Document of verification of property in Sindh. After rehabilitation from Karachi, Sindh, Pakistan, my grandparents first settled in block number 28, Warshaw Colony, Baroda. From the records it is presumed that the claim for compensation was submitted after they shifted in Kalyan Kampai. The claim was submitted to the settlement officer. The documents were verified by Government of India and found that the title of property is in the name of my grandmother, Devibai Kalachand Ramchandani. Additional Settlement Commissioner Delhi, Mr. H. T. Satarangani announced the judgment. The judgment was given ex parte as it is presumed that the refugees were not in financially sound position and could not leave behind children in refugee camps to attend and follow up the compensation. In spite of the proven document, the land was assessed as 111 standard acres instead of the record of 173 acres 24 guttas. It was also verified that the land is irrigated by barrage canal with rice restrictions. The application form is as per Administration of Evacuee Property Act, 1950. The status of property which could be claimed was as on date March 1, 1947. The document being in Urdu could not be read, hence one old Maulvi of Anjar town who was having knowledge of reading and writing Urdu was approached to know the contents of the documents. Content of the claim document. I. Devibai Kalachand, age 50, self. 2. Kalachand Ramchandani, age 60, husband. 3. Gobind Ramchandani, age 10, son, my father. 4. Padma Ramchandani, age 16, daughter. Interim compensation orders. The order of compensation was issued on date May 1, 1956 by Office of Regional Settlement Commissioner Bombay, under Ministry of Rehabilitation, Government of India. The order was of interim compensation and total amount of claim finalized was 24,178 rupees. Barak in Ulhasnagar was allotted since January 1951 as per the records and arrears up to October 31, 1953 of 562 rupees were deducted from the compensation. House on rent, Barak number 385 OT, Camp 1 Kalyan, which was in possession since January 1951 is being allotted on quasi-permanent basis with effect from November 1, 1953. Other outstanding dues of 16,845.12 rupees were deducted, which were for allotment of 2 houses SDB 89 and 90. The houses were allotted by Sindh Resettlement Corporation and amount was adjusted under interim compensation. Net amount of interim compensation and rehabilitation grant due was 6,770 rupees. Allotment of another house TCX North 33. Adjustment of amount 5,070 rupees for TCX North 33. Veed letter of SRC dated August 3, 1956. Barak number 385, OT Camp 1 Ulhasnagar. This is the place of Ulhasnagar-1 of Maharashtra in which my father at age of 7 to 10 lived, with his mother, father and sister as refugee after Indo-Pak partition. They lived from year 1950 to October 31, 1953 as refugees. I incidentally visited Ulhasnagar to attend the prayer meet of death of my uncle, Mr. Bhagwan Kriplani, living in Ulhasnagar. 3. There I remembered that my father along with his parents lived in Ulhasnagar as refugees. I got the address from my wife Asha at Adipur to search the same from the book Indus Valley to my home, written by me during May 13. I shared the idea of visiting this area with my brother-in-law Naresh Tawani and with my cousins. On date January 10 we started searching for the area on 2 motorbikes. We started search from Ulhasnagar, too, but could not find the required barrack. After asking from May people ultimately we could see the location. All the old barracks are not renovated into row houses and could not be identified, but one rear wall of barrack number 385 still exists in the original condition, which is captured in photograph as below. Before coming to Ulhasnagar my father and grandfather were in Baroda, now Vadodara. Now my next wish is to search for the location where they first landed in India as refugees and settled in Block No. 28 Warshaw Colony from July 48 to January 1950. About my grandparents. My grandfather Sri Kalachand was a chemist and started working in medical shop of one Mr. Lal Vaswani. My maternal grandparents used to live in Hyderabad, Sindh. My Nana's name was Kishanchand Bhavani and Nanny's name was Rukmani. My Nana was having more than 25 building properties in Hyderabad and was running a shop of general store. He was having their own horse cart. At that time few cars were, they were also in position to afford car, but due to lack of drivers had not purchased. My Nana used to go to his shop on his own horse cart. Shop was for killing the time, but his main income was from the rents of his properties. As narrated by my nanny when I was child, their house was open for all the visitors and daily additional food was prepared for their near and dears visiting Hyderabad for any purpose. Mother of my Nana was having a sister with huge age difference, hence she was brought up by my Nana's mother as daughter. In real sense she was Masi of my Nana, but as was treated as sister by my Nana. His son was Mohan Jigyasi who was living at Nadiad. My father. During this period, while arranging documents, I got the SSC mark sheet of my father, passed in October 1962. Just read the subjects which were offered in SSC other than common subjects. 1. Banking and accounts. 2. Shorthand. 3. Elements of commerce. 4. Woodwork techniques. 5. Housecraft. 6. Dyeing techniques. 7. Geometry and machine drawing. 8. Building and construction. 9. Mechanical engineering. 10. Radio engineering. 11. Electrical engineering. 12. Radio service work. 13. Workshop technician grade I/2. 14. Elementary of mechanical and electrical engineering. 15. Surveying. 16. Tilling and soil. 17. Weaving and power. 18. Crop and animal husbandry. 19. Typography. 20. Hand spinning and hand weaving. 21. Chemical tech. 22. Tailor and cutting. 23. Handmade paper manufacturing. 24. Tailor and embroidery. Languages offered: Gujarati, Marathi, Hindi, Urdu, Sindhi, English, Punjabi, Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, Bengali, Malayalam, Sanskrit, Pali, Ardhamagadi, Arabic, Persian, Avesta, Pahlavi, Latin, Hebrew, Greek, German, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, French. My father completed IT in fitting. At that time ITI could be done after passing 9th standard, and after completing ITI, my father was appointed as instructor in Tolani Foundation Polytechnic Adipur. He was founder member of Tolani Foundation Polytechnic, and I even learned fitting from him in year 1981, first year diploma civil. He retired from his services in 1997. I still remember that his colleagues brought him home from the workshop of TFGP with garlands in his neck, and all came walking along him. If I am not mistaken, came Ranbir Advani, Gagandas Kriplani, Kamabai, Janakbai, and some other staff members of workshop. My father was hard-working and he always liked to do part-time job after the teaching hours. I remember he used to work as operator of Usha Talkies, now Vinay Cinema, movies. were free for us, and I watched almost every movie with my father when I was child. He also started a shop on the Matri Road Udaipur of bakery items. When I was child, used to sit in the shop in the evening, then he sold the shop to one Kishan Tailor, and still this shop exist, and next generation of Sri Kishan Tailor are operating this shop. He was very fond of feeding the birds. Hundreds of parrots used to come to our house when my father used to give grains, but cats used to hunt them frequently, as it was each catch due to large number of birds at one place, so my father discontinued. My son Yash was born, and my father became busy in taking care and playing with him. During the last few years before retirement, he started visiting the Radha Krishan temple of Divine Life Society every evening. He was follower of Radha Swami and had become vegetarian. He used to meditate for number of hours. And in year 2003, it was day of Shivratri, he was meditating and locked himself in the room and was not opening, when we forced him and came out of the room, but lost the mental balance, for which his treatment was continued for some time. But he lived the normal life, except on some occasions we have to make counseling. On December 3, 2008, I came to Gandhinagar for the Technical Scrutiny Committee. Just after completing the meeting, I got a call from my uncle, who gave me this sad news, and I immediately rushed to my home at Udaipur. Before I reached Udaipur, all my friends reached my home, and they were with my family members and made all arrangements for funeral. I am still thankful to my friends. I still remember that my father used to wake up in early morning, and I moved for Gandhinagar on the December 3, 2008. My father asked that why you are frequently going to long tours. He was no comfortable on that day. Overall he was healthy, without any disease of blood pressure or diabetes. During the entire life he was very kind to the family and never gave any trouble to use my birthplace, Udaipur, a township with shortest addresses in country. If somebody asks my address, and if I reply that my address is SDB 90 370205, the person who I reply worries that with such a small address how could a post reach you, but no post is missed. Even such small address is narrated. It is just like vehicle number, in which state district is indicated only by numbers. Udaipur Gandhidham, remembering addresses, is a piece of cake at the Sindhi resettlement township in Udaipur. All it comprises is a few alphabets and numbers. No wonder residents claim to have the shortest addresses in the country. Addresses like SDR 69, SDX 50, CBX 56, TRS 69, SBD 4 are common here. And people here look for each other's houses by these codes, which for an outsider will appear strange. But the code is simple for residents, as they denote the type of house, the locality, and house numbers. And, in case you are thinking that such addresses were decided upon on someone's whims and fancies, then you will be wrong. The master plan for twin towns of the Udaipur Gandhidham was prepared by an Italian architect Mario Bacchiacci in 1949, but the unique addresses were suggested by a group of German engineers and planners, who lived in the township while building the Kandla port. The township is built for rehabilitation of Hindu population from Pakistan. Initially, many people were living on rent, and there was the arrangement of purchase of houses from claimed settlement amount of evacuated property in Pakistan. The range of houses were such that all class of population could be accommodated, from single-room row house to luxurious bungalows on 800 square yards plots. Rents of the houses was ranging from 1 rupee to 35 rupees in Udaipur township, and the same was decided by the Sindhu Resettlement Corporation. The houses were again renamed with the address, such as Nav Valley, 49 rupees rent, for CCX houses, Pandrawali, for rupees 15 rent, for SBX houses. Even today rickshaw drivers recognize with this type of names in the Udaipur township. Nirvasaichur Temple Udaipur -1970. Old memories. From childhood we used to visit the Nirvasaichur temple in every Shivratri. When studying in primary school, I and my sister permanently tattooed OM on our right hand. It was tattooed by machine, and it was painful process. Shivratri is celebrated every year in a small town named Udaipur under Gandhidham municipality in Kutch district of Gujarat, India. After Indo-Pak partition to settle the rehabilitated population from Pakistan, this township was constructed. In the matter of the master plan for the town, the services of an Italian town planner of all Europe repute, had been obtained in the beginning who gave many useful ideas. The plan thereafter was developed by an Indian town planner, employed by the corporation. The basic principle of the plan is, that the town is divided into self-sufficient districts which are again subdivided into neighborhood units. Each neighborhood unit, having a population of about 10,000 people, has its own schools, dispensaries, temples, etc., while each district consisting of about half a dozen neighborhood units, has a district center, consisting of markets, shopping squares, cinemas, hospitals, etc. This principle has been greatly appreciated by all experts. This master plan, as desired by the government, was also checked and approved by an American town planning organization whose services had been obtained under Truman Aid Scheme. The planning also consists of construction of temple complex in which Shiva Temple, Hanuman Temple and Maa Temple were planned to be constructed. Besides this, Guru Mandir, Lal Mandir, Lakshminarayan Temple were also part of master plan prepared by Sindhu Resettlement Corporation. Construction of the temple was completed in year 1951 and Pran Pratishtha of Shiva idol was done. This Shiva idol was originally in the house of Patel family of London. Mr. Patel became friend of Bhai Pratap Dayal Das, who was founder of Udaipur Gandhidham Township. Their friendship began while both were traveling in flight from Karachi to Bhuj. The management of temple complex was handed over to Matri Mandal, which was headed by the famous poet and freedom fighter Padam Shri Dada Hundraj Kale. Matri Mandla is responsible of management of school in the township, and in past it also managed Diploma Engineering College, which was latter taken over to Tolani Foundation owned by Prabdas Tolani. In year 1978 Shiv Mandli was constituted and its first president was Shri H. Navani, and Shiv Mandli took over the responsibility of maintenance of temple complex. In year 1993 Shiv Mandli was registered and renamed as OM Shiv Mandli. At present OM Shiv Mandli maintains all the activities of temple complex and also carries other social activities. Daily about more than 300 poor persons are fed in this temple complex. Story about Shiva idol of Nirvisaichwar Temple of Udaipur. According to the Shiva Puran, Daksha Prajapati sought worthy grooms for his many daughters, men of substance, gods who helped life on earth, like Indra, the rain god, or Agni, the fire god. He was quite horrified therefore when his youngest daughter, Sati, of her own free will, chose a hermit as a husband, a naked, ash-smeared ascetic called Shiva who had dogs and ghosts as his companions and who lived atop a snow-clad mountain. Upset that his daughter had married against his will, and that too to a person so unconventional, he broke all relations with her. When he decided to perform a grand yagna, he invited all his daughters and sons-in-law to the ceremony, but not Shiva and Sati. The story goes that when Daksha Prajapati refused to invite Shiva to his yagna, Sati flew into such a rage that she burnt herself to death in protest and disrupted the entire ceremony. A great confrontation followed where Daksha Prajapati and his guests saw the fury and power of Shiva. An uneasy peace was finally restored, with Daksha Prajapati begging for forgiveness and Shiva withdrawing into his cave. The story continues by the act of Vishnu in pacifying Shiva, who was in deep grief in seeing the half-burned corpse of his beloved wife. Vishnu embraced Shiva to pacify him. Shiva, unable to part with Sati, took her corpse and wandered. The body parts of the corpse of Sati Devi fell in the places Shiva traveled. The places where the body part Sati Devi's corpse fell came to be known as Shakti Pithas. It is only in crisis that the value of a Shiva is realized. The mudra of the Lord Shiva idol of Nirvisaichwar Temple of Udaipur was of the wandering position of Shiva when the god left Himalayas. Similar was the position of Rehabiliti, Sindhi Hindu population, and all the population were in wandering stage, hence this Shiva idol was best for Nirvisaichwar Temple of Udaipur. Hence Bhai Pratap Dayal Das requested Mr. Patel to give him the Shiva idol for Nirvisaichwar Temple of Udaipur. Silent town lived on sirens, year 1970. This is the memory of a silent town Udaipur located in Kutch, Gujarat. The town was established after Indo-Pak partition for rehabilitation of people migrated from Pakistan. Till 1970 it was thinly populated and town was silent. At that time there were very few vehicles and mode of communication for public was city bus run by the Sindhu Resettlement Corporation and train running from, and only two industries were there. One was factory of Scinde Resettlement Corporation and one was spinning mill. Majority of the people were working in Scinde Resettlement Corporation, spinning mill, and Kandla Port Trust. Day of the town starts with whistle of train at 6:45 for conveyance of workers and officials. Of Kandla Port Trust, it was for second shift 8 to 1600 hours. There were total 3 shifts and whistle of 3 trains going to Kandla and 3 trains coming to Kandla was clearly heard in the entire town. Spinning mill was running in 3 shifts and siren of 3 shifts, tea break, lunch break, was clearly heard in the entire town. First siren of Scinde Resettlement Corporation could be heard at 7:45 hours, which was to move from the homes so as to reach the factory in 15 minutes. Second siren at 8 o'clock hours was for starting the shift. Siren at 9:30 was for office staff of Scinde Resettlement Corporation. Siren at 11 o'clock hours for tea break, at 1300 hours for starting of lunch time, at 14:34. End of lunch time and 17:30 for end of office time of SRC. Last siren of SRC was heard at 2100 hours for end of shift of factory. I remember that even lunch timing of Tolani Polytechnic College matched with the schedule of SRC, and on hearing siren of 1300 hours I could assume that my father will reach home for lunch in 15 minutes. My father was working as instructor in Tolani Polytechnic. Similarly, each family relied on one or other siren or whistle of train. Sirens were relied more than clocks at that time. Also in many homes clocks were missing. This continued till the town grew and noise pollution increased due to vehicles and many other reasons. Memories of Indo-Pak War, 1971. I was watching television on Saturday, November 23, on AAJ TAC channel. A documentary of Indo-Pak War of 1971 was shown, which reminded me of my childhood memories. During Indo-Pak War of 1971 I was just 7 years old, studying in first standard at Adda Prakoch. At that time what is war and its consequence was not known, but the first word of blackout in relation to the war was heard during that period. During that time we had no holidays in the school, but it was functioning normally, and my parents even did not hesitated in sending me to school. Out school was in resident area, which was walkable distance from my home, and we used to go by foot as there was no system of children going through auto rickshaw. A old lady named Kankubin used to take 4-5 children from their home to the school, and we used to return with her. She was also working as peon in the same school. Trenches were excavated in the premises of school, and we were provided with cotton buds by the school. On indication of some threat by whistles of home guard and siren, we were taken to the trenches and asked to sit inside the trench with cotton buds inserted into our ears. We used to sit in the trenches till further indication of safety appeared through home guard whistles and siren. It was fun for us, and we didn't fear about anything. During night time, blackout was enforced, and any light penetrating from our windows of house was restricted. We used to cover the glasses of windows by thick cardboard, and any opening was closed by paper seals. In the normal cases bulbs of 100 watts were used, and at that time tube lights were rare in the middle-class family, but during wartime 40 watts bulbs were fixed in the houses so that there are no changes of light going out of our houses. There were very few vehicles in the town, and which, if required, were moving without lights. In night time, some people even feared smoking bidis or cigarettes in the open. My father was working as instructor in Polytechnic College and was having little shop in which few bakery items were sold. He used to close the shop before sunsets. How to pass the time at night till we sleep was matter of question. During that time a new chambers were constructed outside the row houses, which was almost accommodated with people of the area chatting and discussion about the war. We used to watch number of home guards moving in the town for whole night and warning with whistles during the time of threat. In our area our radio could catch Radio Pakistan, which was prohibited by law or otherwise, which I don't remember. Even though we tried to listen about the war from the side of Pakistan, and the news was much aggravated as per the actual loss incurred by them. During war many Pakistani soldiers were arrested as prisoner of war, and on All India radio they used to speak to their families narrating their name and saying, Khairat Hai. We used to listen on the radio, and there was time slot for the POW to address to their family members. At that time there used to be license for keeping radios and annual charges were paid in post office and a license book was stamped for the renewal for 1 year. Radios were also equipped with antenna which was installed outside the windows or on roof. This childhood memory of war always remained in my mind, and where I got opportunity is tried to know about the war. In 1983 I passed Diploma Civil Engineer and worked as work assistant on daily rated basis. In Kandla Port Trust, I was assigned the job in dredger which was working round the clock. The captain of the dredger was retired military man from Navy. During the night shift he used to narrate sometimes his experience of war. In year 1984 I was appointed as civil engineer in Water Supply Department. I was in charge of Bani area which is typhoid at second standard, 1972. Typhoid at that time was called Mutta Ka Bukar. Even after treatment it take 40 days to cure. I was encountered with typhoid when I was in second standard and was treated by Dr. Manu who practicing at shop in Janda Chowk Road. I missed my classes many days, hence my notes were not completed. Even though in normal times I was lazy in writing the notes. That's why I never improved my handwriting. I remember that my father helped me in borrowing the notebooks from Mukesh Asnani, through his father G.C. Asnani, as both were working in same college. I spend my time at home copying the notes. In the same year I stood second rank in the examination, and that was the only year when I was ranked second. Otherwise in my career I was the average students. My poor writing every time embraced that teachers. One day a lady class teacher, name I am not remembering, showed the page of my notebook to whole classroom and told that even in the broad daylight she could not read my writing, and compared with a notebook of another student saying that she could read this without the daylight. Even this could not motivated to improve my handwriting. Still I am surveying with this poor writing. An old Sindhi, selling his skill on streets instead of begging for money. Year 1973. I recollected the old memories of year about 1973 when our family used to live in a one-room row houses called CCX area in Adipur. I was a child studying in about 3rd or 4th standard. A old man used to cross our lane with a gunny bag having various kind of tools of carpentry, plumbing and other miscellaneous tools. Just like other cart vendors of vegetable etc., he used to move in whole area and asking in loud voice, Ko Kam Vatho, I.e. take some work from him. At the tender age I was wondering what he is selling and what was in his bag. After some time when I noticed that some people are calling in his home and taking some skilled work of repairing from this old man and paying some charges to him. The question is why this is being recalled after span of more than 40 plus years. This is because that few months back when I was in Adipur Koch at my hometown, our friends used to have gathering at tea stall and we used to discuss current issues. One day my friend Ishwar was talking to his friend on mobile that he had found one Sindhi begging for money at Padariya Hanuman Mandir at a Tanjar village, and he was worried about this change in Hindu Sindhi community, as it is common saying that you cannot find a Sindhi beggar. This was the reason for my recollection of memories, that even after leaving all property in Sindh, the old Sindhi preferred to sell his skill in the street instead of begging for money. This also remind me a video clipping of a Jain sadhu speaking about Sindhis saying that they had transformed from Sharnarthi to Prasharthi. Nav Nirman, year 1974 to 75. Till 3rd standard I studied in modern school at Adipur, which was established in SDB Bungalows. It was walking distance from my house. At that time there was no facility of rickshaw picking from home and school, but one school peon named Kankuban used to come to our house to pick up, and we used to travel by foot with her from house of one student to other. Overall I remember we were 5 to 6 students. This continued for the KG standards, and after 1st standard I used to go walking with the tin colorful bag painted in green. During Nav Nirman I was studying in 4th standard, and languages such as Gujarati and Hindi started from 4th, till that we couldn't even write or read simple alphabets of Gujarati and Hindi. Due to strikes out school was closed many days, and there was student leader named Tandon, which was mama of Sunil Gangwani, my classmate. He was even jailed at that time. I remember my classmate Narendra Kupchandani was picked up from the school as a protester, and along with him some senior students were also jailed. Some students ran out of fear from school to Gandhidham railway station. We were mass promoted, hence my base of Gujarati and Hindi language never developed. Due to this, SSC 1979-80. In 1979, I passed 9th standard, and in the same year Gujarat was awarded 9 million acre-feet of water, due to which there was the news that huge demand of engineers shall be created for execution of this mega project. During the first day of 10th standard we were asked to give the choice of commerce or science, but as one of my teacher probably Chailani Miss narrated the huge demand of engineers in coming year, most of the students were encouraged to opt for science. Whereas in previous years maximum students opt for commerce. The school teacher took the test of maths of 9th standard and told that one who score good marks can opt for science. I remember it was 25 marks test, but I score only 9 marks, even though I was firm to opt for science, and I continued for that. All science students except me joined tuition classes of Alwani Sir, and few were at Rajwanshi Sir. 3 months before exams I joined Rajwanshi Sir, who was living in THS on Matri Road. He was very good teacher and I scored good marks in maths and science. He used to take our classes after 10 hours, and after completion of classes he used to walk with us till Matri school. It was wonderful experience with him, as he used to take only 4 to 5 students in one batch. I remember one funny event of SSC exams. One Prakash Mudliyar, my classmate and neighbor, also opted for science. During the examination he was alone and his parents were gone to Madras, Chennai. There were 2 papers, algebra and geometry, and there was gap between 2 papers. During the gap he came to his home and felt sleep. When he woke, it was late, even though he locked the house, and went to examination center running, and reached there 10 minutes just before exam was to complete. Typing subject. This was the common subject which majority of the students opt, as I remember it was optional against Sanskrit. My Sanskrit was not so good, hence I opt for typing as per other students. There were 2 types of typing machines, Remington and Godrej. We have to practice on both, as in examination it was not certain on which machine we have to give examination. I joined Anuradha Typing Institute in 64 Bazaar, Adipur. I loved typing as I was having very poor handwriting, and this gave me opportunity to improve my output even in my professional career. Even today I use all fingers while typing and work without looking at keyboard. SSC results, 1980. 2 of my classmates secured 99 marks in one subject, Mr. Dharamdas Ramnani, who secured 99 marks in mathematics, higher math stream, and Mr. Narendra Kupchandani in arithmetic, commerce stream. Mr. Dharamdas Ramnani was always topper in class, as per my knowledge he is at present working as doctor in USA, and Mr. Narendra Kupchandani, who was running printing press at Janda Chowkadipur, no living in Rajkot. And both are not in my contact since many years. Admission TFGP 1980. Results of SSC were out and I secured 64 percentage marks, which were more than sufficient to secure admission in Diploma College. There were 3 streams in Tolani: Polytechnic College, Civil, Mechanical and Electrical. We didn't have any knowledge which engineering is best, even my father were not knowing, but he was surely knowing that Shri S.D. Keswani, lecturer of the college, could guide me properly. I went to his home and gave reference of my father. He guided me to fill the option of civil engineering, second option mechanical, and third electrical. On the guidance of Shri S.D. Keswani, I got admission in diploma in civil engineering. Tolani College was having its own independent admission system and few seats were reserved for Kaka Tolani, and many students from Mumbai, Bombay, Delhi, Ajmer and other Sindhi-dominated towns got admission under such reserved seats. Rest seats were filled through merits. This was the last year of independent system of admission, and from the next year the admission was filled by common merit system of whole Gujarat. Pocket money, 1981. Rupees 20 per month was pocket money during my studies. Prior to this year I never carried cash of even 25 or 50 paisa also, as I was having school bus pass and used to carry lunch box for recess. This I use for cutting tea with friends for few times in a month. As I remember, tea was 25 paisa and sometime 8 tikki pakoda. Canteen was run by one Gurnamal Kriplani. My father's salary was about Rs 900/month, and comparison to this salary even Rs 20/month was good for me. First year of diploma, 1981. There was huge strikes in opposition to reservation, in which many student union participated. College was closed for large number of days. Paper was asked for whole course, but we got 200% option, hence even if we complete half course we can answer questions for 100% marks. Overall in college I was above average in studies. I was happy as nobody asked for notes. And reading from the books was always better option for me. Not writing the notes saved lot of time, but more than 80% of the students behaved like schools and were writing notes. During the lectures this disturbed me hearing the lectures and I sat on last bench to concentrate on the lectures. Worked as mystery in Kandla Port Trust. After completion of diploma, I started working as mystery in Kandla Port Trust even before. Results. Hari Gihani, who was executive engineer at Kandla Port Trust, was known to my relative Soni Kriplani, who was estate manager at Kandla Port Trust. On her insistence he appointed as mystery on daily wages basis. Before results I was paid Rs 30/day and after results it was increased to Rs 32/day. Overall I worked for about 6 months. I used to travel through train from Adipur to Kandla, for which I had got travel pass from railway. We had to reach site at 8 hours and timing of the train was about 6:30 in morning. And after descending from the train at Kandla I used to walk up to 6th berth, which took almost 20 to 25 minutes. Again after duty was over at 16 hours, again used to catch train from Kandla at around 5 hours and reached at home at about 18 hours. Initially I was posted at container freight station on 6th berth, which was on pile foundation. The work was awarded to VK Patel & Co. One day owner Sri Lakabai was coming to the site by car, and from the far site he observed that the columns are out of plumb. This was the sharpness of such legendary contractor who are always thinking for quality of work. The column was tilted due to heavy rolling on earth filling up to plinth. He also suggested the corrected measure and constructed the artificial wall outside, filled with earth and rolled from outside. He identified the problem and gave the solution also. The work was stuck for short time and I was placed at Dredger 1, Dredger Corporation of India, which was used for dredging of 6th berth of Kandla Port Trust. There was shifting duty and I used to do double duty. I.e. 16 hours from 1600 hours HRS to 8 o'clock HRS next day. In Dredger there was library, canteen and small sitting and sleeping place at the cabin of captain, who used to operate the dredger for digging out of mud. Mud was dredged and pumped through the pipeline installed on the floating platforms and was dumped at the shore for ground filling. Quantity of dredging was worked out physically every month by measuring the depth at the fixed location. Fixed location was identified by ranging the boat in alignment and measuring the distance from the berth. Time of the measurement was recorded in minutes and seconds, and the level of the sea was measured at the floating jetty near North Gate. Level of sea was measured every 5 minutes and clock of both the surveyor were matched before starting the measurement. Ground level were established by deduction the depth from the sea level by interpolation of sea level at the time of measurement of depth. Manual calculations were made which were very tedious and it took hours to complete and check the quantities. I was the only person who could work out and check the quantities and whole department relied upon my work. Employment Exchange, 1983. Employment Exchange was at Budge and weekly camp for registration was held on every Tuesday or Wednesday at Old Court Building Gandhidham and Old Commerce College at Adipur. After receiving provisional passing certificate, I gathered the required documents and waited for the next camp for registration as unemployed engineer. On the day of camp it was heavy rain, even though I wrapped all the original document in the plastic and traveled through SRC city bus to Gandhidham for registration. I also asked few of my friends to come for registration, but due to rain only few candidates came for registration. I got the opportunity from Employment Exchange for work charge additional assistant engineer at Irrigation Division Budge at that time. Shri K.M.N. Rao was executive engineer. I remember I gave the interview along with my friend Mohan Anandani, but nobody was appointed through this interview. Second change I got as work charge additional assistant engineer at PH Works Division Budge, and at that time Shri Dadaya Saheb was the executive engineer and Shri R.S. Koyani was deputy engineer of Bani subdivision. In absence of Shri Dadaya Saheb, R.S. Kolyani took my interview. I was selected along with my friend Subhash Kolyani and 2 others. Posting at Bani, February 12, 1984. Applied for GWSSB. Many engineers of GWSSB were students of my father as he was fitting instructor at workshop of Tolani Polytechnic College. One Kartar Paptani was addition assistant engineer at GWSSB and my father directed me to meet him. Paptani was living in double-story houses opposite Divine Life Society Hospital at Adipur. I went to his house for guidance. He wrote the address of GWSSB on his paper and asked to send the application. A hand-written application with ordinary stamp was sent to GWSSB, Gandhinagar. In the meantime I joined GWSSB as work charge AAE. Interview were called through employment exchange. The old application helped me which I forgot, and as per my old application I was called for interview for regular AAE and I appeared for interview at Office of SE Project, Patnagar Yogna Bhavan Gandhinagar and joined GWSSB. At Bani Sub-Division Budge, at that time post of AAE was not vacant hence my salary was drawn at Manvi Sub-Division. Guardian about Shrichan Talreja, 1984. Blog posted on date February 17, 2015. February 17, 1984 is the date exactly 31 years before today on which I resumed my duties as additional assistant engineer, civil, in Water Supply Department in Budge District Koch. Children needs guardian but in government service when anybody at the very young age joints does not get any guardian, but I was lucky to get the guardian in my first government posting. He was Mr. Shrichan Talreja, a senior engineer of the same post of mine. I resumed my duty and met Deputy Engineer Mr. R.S. Kolyani. He was a senior person and used to speak very less. He just told to meet Mr. Talreja and work with him and I just got my guardian in my job. The very first question I asked Mr. Talreja that how after so many years you are still on the same post. He answered that in this organization this is the pace in which we get promotion. I was depressed a little and felt that I being junior most shall never get promotion. Mr. Talreja used to teach me right from drafting letters, preparation of estimates, tenders, management of stores and lot of many things. I used to accompany him on the site of works frequently. Strong base was created due to his kind guidance which had helped a lot during my career. After few months of training I was assigned independent work of laying about 8 kilometers. Pipeline and construction of storage and large public stand post consisting of 160 taps. Which was designed in Y shape for Hajipur, Pilgrim Place and Village. This was a unique public stand post in the country. This site of work was 100 kilometers from my office place. Motorcycles, Bullet, were in the offices but I was not allotted. Mr. Talreja was having motorcycle bearing number 68 and I used to ask for same for going to site. He used to give me eagerly but was worried looking to long distance and young age. He used to ask about schedule of going and returning on site and deliberately asking to give him back. Whenever I return, he was worried man and wanted to assure my safe return from site. At that time mobiles phone were not there and there were no landline phones even at site of work. Many times I returned late night and he didn't sleep till my arrival. He used to keep dinner for me in his home and first question on the arrival he used to ask that if I had taken dinner or not and say that my dinner is ready at his home. Even at late nights he used to drop me where I lived. This was true sign of guardian and he never treated me just like colleague but a caretaker and guru. As I remember in year 1993 or 1994 he suffered from the paralytic attack and his left portion stopped working and was not cured. He resigned from his job and after few years, he settled in Ahmedabad. Years passed and I lost his contact but his son was my Facebook friend. Today on February 17, 2015, I completed 31 years of my service and today is the occasion of Shivratri. Being holiday I was in home and was to attend the marriage of son of Mr. Lalwani working in Anjar. Before departing for reception I read the invitation card for venue and found that the girl with which Mr. Lalwani's son married was daughter of Mr. Shrichan Talreja. This was surprise for me and happy moment that I was going to meet him after long period. Mr. Talreja's son was welcoming the guests and I asked him about his father. He told that he is resting in room of hotel and for few moments he will attend the reception. He was brought on wheelchair at about 10 p.m. and I moved quickly to meet him. After meeting me he smiled and then cried, remembering the old days. He looked at my half-white mustache and laughed very much. I took his blessing, and at that time I was along with my wife Asha there. He was very happy to hear that I had got promotion of superintendent engineer, and he told that in his lifetime he didn't get any promotion and felt very much sorry for his health and early retirement. Mr. Tail Raja told that his daughter is married in my town Udaipur and told to take care of her. Indirectly he asked to be her guardian. This is the sheer coincidence that my guardian asked to be guardian of her daughter exactly after 31 years when I first met him. First election duty, 1985. I joined GWSSB in year 1984, and in next year there was Vidhan Sabha election. At that time, qualifying age of voter was 21 years. I was younger than 21 years but was ordered to perform duty as presiding officer who is in charge of booth. I requested that when I am not eligible to vote, then how am I eligible to perform duties of presiding officer? My argument was not considered valid and said that your basis if 425 rupees as additional assistant engineer, and this is sufficient for eligibility as presiding officer. My duty was at Elford School Budge. Number of forms to be filled were in Gujarati and I was not still convergent. With that, my first polling officer was the experienced person who helped me lot in filling the forms. I still remember SMT Kumudnaban Pancholi was the candidate from that constituency and she visited my booth. That's why I remembered. Accident on motorcycles, 1985. I started learning two-wheelers directly on Yezda motorcycle and Bullet. Till 1990 I was now owning scooter or motorcycle, but due to nature of work in GWSSB I have to learn driving motorcycle, which I picked up very quickly. My first accident was near Jura and I was sitting on back seat of one contractor. It was about 8 hours at night. We just moved from Jura Head Works and after few kilometers was encountered by a cat crossing the road. We fell and my left ankle was injured but no damage to bones. I still have the mark of that. There was a RMP doctor in Jura village. We went there and he tied a bandage, whereas stitches were required. Due to this, dressing were continued for number of days. Second time I along with my mystery, Deepak Soni was traveling from Hajipur to Budge. Till few kilometers I was driving and my mystery told me that he is willing to drive. At that time it was dark night and he drove the motorcycle into the borrow pits near the road. At that time I was not injured. Then I drove the motorcycle and at Nakatrana we visited the local doctor Mr. Rathod. If I am not mistaken, he dressed his injuries and gave him an injection, and again started traveling to Budge. Third time I was traveling from Budge to Udaipur and along with me was Mr. Prakash Kiani. It was again night and I was driving from Budge to Anjar. At Anjar Mr. Kiani told that he is hungry and wants to take some snacks near Anjar bus stop. I was arguing that now house is not far away, let's go to home and take dinner at home, but on his instance we had snacks at Anjar bus stop. Thereafter he told that now he will drive between Anjar and Udaipur about near Spinning Mill. He drove the motorcycle into the side drain area of the road and this time also he was injured and as I remember bone of last figure of left hand was broken and thereafter we removed the motorcycle from the side drain and then I drove and got him admitted into Divine Life Society Hospital at Udaipur. Remembering Hari Dilgir, Principal TFGP 1987. Hari Dilgar H.G. Dariani, visited his house in year 1987. Born in Ladkhana, Sindh on June 15, 1916, was basically civil engineer. After coming under influence of Kavi Kishanchand because he mastered in poetic technique. He was also author of more than 20 books and honored by many awards such as Sahitya Akademi Award, Priyadarshini Award, Gaurav Puraskar, Narayan Sham Award, Indus IND Award and many more. He was president of Gandhidham Municipality and Rotary Club of Gandhidham. He was also principal of Tolani Polytechnic and associated with Tolani College Board. He was appointed as referee by Institute of Engineers India, Calcutta. After passing Section A exam of Institute of Engineer, I was fortunate to meet him for submission of 6 months experience diary. That was year 1987. I visited his house about 2 to 3 times for my submission. He was very kind with me and shared many things with me. He asked questions about my experience in Kandla Port Trust and GWSSB. I narrated my experience of supervision of dredging of 6th berth of Kandla Port and work of laying pipelines of Bani Part 2 Regional Water Supply Scheme. During one visit, a famous columnist of English newspaper Sri Nirmal Vaswani was present in his house. I was very delighted to hear the conversation with Hari Dilgar. He narrated one incident in which he wrote a letter to Chairman Kandla Port Trust that people of Gandhidham are immortals. Chairman called him and asked what is the meaning of writing such type of matter. He explained that in development plan of Gandhidham and Adipur there is no place of crematorium or burial place. The developers planned for everything, right from hospitals, cinema, schools, shops and everything, but felt that people won't die, hence didn't plan for crematorium or burial place. On hearing this, Chairman KPT was surprised and asked his expectation. He requested that water supply pipeline is required for Shamshan for Gandhidham, which falls under Karirahar village. The chairman agreed and a pipeline from Kandla Special Economic Zone junction was laid along the road site to Shamshan Grove. Such was the level of people who were involved in print media. Secondly, he was discussion about the lack of parking place and maintenance of garden in the town, as garden are lungs of the town which are required to be protected. I remembered the interview of Nirmal Vaswani which I read on website stating that land was allotted by Maharao of Kutch for rehabilitation of Sindhis from Pakistan, but due to merger of princely state Kutch in India, all the transfer of land by princely state to the relatives or others became null and void in year 1950, hence Maharao could not transfer the allotted land to Sindh Resettlement Corporation, whereas development was in progress. So Bhai Pratap approached to Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru and Minister of States Vallabhbhai Patel, and they both assured them for some solution. In year 1955, as a negotiation, 2,600 acres of land was given to Sindh Resettlement Corporation and rest of land was given to Kandla Port Trust on lease, and Kandla Port Trust could allot the land who wished to settle in Gandhidham. As per my knowledge, initially 4,000 houses were being constructed by Sindh Resettlement Corporation and the area was called as Char Hazar. Thereafter the area was initially named as Sardarganj. At present a dispensary run by government exists near Janda Chowk, Gandhidham, named as Sardarganj Davakanu. In front of Gandhidham railway station stands a statue of Sardar Patel. Due to same name of Gandhidham was given as the town was established. On 12th day of Gandhi's death, and ashes of Mahatma were flown in Kandla Creek, and Gandhi Samadhi was established at Adipur. It was effort of Sardar Patel to merge all princely states. It would be better that Kandla Port, which is major international seaport of the country, be named after Sardar Patel. Why such representation is not made by our leaders of Gujarat? Also, name Kandla does not have any sentimental attachment for Kutch or Gujarat. It shall be proud to live in a place which is named after Gandhi and nearby port which is suggested to be named after Sardar Patel. Bicycle on hire, 1990. There was time when in our small town Adipur in district Kutch, with the population of about 15,000, was having 3 to 4 shops which used to give bicycles on hire. This was till year 1985 to 86 as I remember. There were very limited scooters at that time, and many people also did not own bicycles. Also, people used to hire bicycle which was on hourly basis, and bicycle was given without any deposit, as in the town everybody was known to each other. Any unknown person was not given until he gave proper references. A register was kept in which name, time and bicycle number was entered. Shopkeepers used to keep tricycles also for small children, and cycles were kept of smaller to the largest size for users of different height. Also some cycles suitable to ladies were also kept. People used to insist their children to learn cycling on hired bicycle, and thereafter the child could get new cycle. This was intentionally done so that child may not damage new cycle while learning cycling. I remember till 1984 when I joined water supply department in Budge, there was a shop near bus stop, and I saw many foreign visitors taking cycle for hire and wandering whole Budge area. This was time when everybody was not having bicycle. This Sunday on December 15, 2013, I was reading newspaper, and in a daily Gujarati newspaper the article of bicycle was published in which the writer felt sorrow that there are 42.41 lakhs cycles in Gujarat, which are more than motorized two-wheelers, which are 41.58 lakhs. If we turn around history, there is nothing to be sorrow as looking to population of Gujarat. It could be estimated that every third house have motorized two-wheelers and almost equal number of cycles. Present roads are flooded with motorcycles and mopeds. If it is imagined that all cycle owners are replaced with motorcycles owners, the current infrastructure in towns may not be sufficient to cater the situation. Governance shall increase the public transport so that minimum number of personal vehicles runs on the roads. This will save the fuel and ease the traffic condition. Writers of the mass publications must highlight such issues for public awareness. I owned bicycle till year 1990, November 6, 1992. I married to Asha Laxman Wadhwani on that day. She was from Ahmedabad and his father and mother originally belonged to Udaipur. In 1992 some departmental inquiries were under progress, and my in-laws were feared about my future, and my brother-in-law Mukesh Wadhwani many times asked from the other sources about future of my career, but it was the trifle issue which was politically highlighted and also resolved. I was on the stage of reception at Prabhu Darshan, and one of my colleague came and told that some supervisors are transferred out of Koch and now there is turn of junior engineers, as I was junior engineer and appreciated that transfer order could come any time. But luckily I was not transferred and continued working at the same place. It was the happy and fearful movement hearing such news on the stage of reception of marriage. Kandla cyclone -1998. In 1998 there was heavy damage to Kandla port and other infrastructure, also many lives were lost in coastal areas of Koch. For water supply infrastructures were safe, but electric poles and towers were collapsed. And we arranged diesel generating sets for tube wells and head work site. Many DG sets were sponsored free of cost, but diesel cost to be borne by department. I remember one oil container floated due to buoyancy and traveled up to Gandhidham railway station. One day I was in my office, it was the restoration period of cyclone. I heard the news that there is gas leakage in IFFCO plant. I rushed to my house along with my colleague, Shri C.C. Nankani on scooter. I saw the whole traffic was moving from Gandhidham/Udaipur to Bhuj, and only 1 to 2 persons moved in opposite direction. Everyone was telling to move back as there was gas leakage. I had to drive on the road berm from Anjar to Udaipur. I dropped Shri Nankani in his parents' home at Udaipur and went to my home. Everyone was packing and moving away from homes. Within minutes almost whole town was vacant. I went to the police station to confirm. It was told that the gas leakage is stopped, but still people were not believing. It was later confirmed by late Bharat Kalyani, who was brother of my colleague Shri Subhash Kalyani. Thereafter we all were relieved. But it was very dangerous circumstance which will always remain in my memories. Earthquake, 2001. This is the day on which earthquake happened in Gujarat and epicenter was in Koch. 13 years had passed since that day. I narrate here some memories of that day. In morning strong vibration was felt in my house and I had witnessed the development of cracks in whole of my house. My father was out of town on that day, my son was 4 years. And daughter was 2 years old, and I with my children, wife and mother quickly moved out of the house. My house is east-facing and on other side of the road was 2 multi-story building which blocked the sun rays till some hours in the morning. We saw the building collapsing all around and suddenly the sun rays emerged due to collapse of building, which was the most dangerous scene I had witnessed in my life. My children had not taken breakfast and were hungry. I took my scooter and moved in the town to access the damages. I was penniless at that time. There was one shop opened near the Tolani Polytechnic College who was unaware about the amount of damages. I purchased some biscuits and told that I will pay him next day. He didn't knew me but told to take away whatever I wanted. My neighbor Mr. Kanayala Hujaw porch was not damaged as it was newly constructed as framed structure. We all assembled the beds and started makeshift kitchen in the porch. My sister is living in Gandhidham and I tried to contact her and inquire about her family, but for some hours all the phone numbers were lost from my memory. After some time I tried to recollect it and contacted my sister and other friends. Looking at my house I decided That I will dismantle as soon as possible, and I shared to my friend Mohan Anandani, who is also civil engineer and was my class monitor. He told me that you are deciding in hurry and you will certainly change your decision and think for retrofitting the house. Luckily I had purchased one small row house from Sindha Resettlement Corporation, and possession of which I received 1 month back the earthquake. I decided to shift my family in the row house and waited till my father came back from Mumbai. On the very same day I visited all the water works under my jurisdiction under Gujarat Water Supply Board, and all fallen structures were inspected and assured that any employee of the department is under the debris or not. It was difficult to balance the job and family at this condition, as restoration of water supply was also very important issue at that time. Largest loss to the employee of Water Supply Department was in Tapar village, as each one had lost someone in the earthquake. It was very difficult to break the barrier of sorrow and ask them to work, but as entire atmosphere was sympathy, they started working readily. One senior civil engineer from Electricity Department visited my house on the request of my brother-in-law Naresh Tawani, and he boosted the courage that my house could be retrofitted to the safe condition. He gave the idea of stapling the cracks by 6 mm diameter reinforcement. This was something new, and I started retrofitting within 7 days of the earthquake. Within 1 month after completion of retrofitting we started living in the same house, but still I felt that this house is safe at present but not for next generation. As my children were very small I could not convey to them, but in the recent year I started conveying them that they shall keep the task of rebuilding the house in their lifetime. I used to paste the paper with gum on the cracks to observe the future development of cracks for my satisfaction. During that period many trainings were conducted for education of retrofitting. This gave me fairly good idea of structural safety of the houses. On requested of my friends and other known persons I started visiting 1 or 2 houses daily after I returned from the job. This was the honorary service which I provided, and in many houses where the owners didn't dare to enter, I entered at my own risk to boost their courage. I also realized the courage of my wife Asha, as she dared to enter into the house for shifting of stoves, gas cylinder, cooking material and other household needs. I still wish to reconstruct my house in my lifetime. Remembering Mohan Jigyasi, my mama, 2008. Sheesh Mahal Amar Dam, it is the name of Gurudwara in Jawaharnagar, Nadiad, Gujarat. This Gurudwara is managed and developed by Jigyasi Pariwar of Nadiad. The Gurudwara was developed and expanded to the heights during the period of Mohan K. Jigyasi, and now it is managed by his son Amar Jigyasi. Mohan Jigyasi left this world in year 2008. He was basically a teacher and a great social worker of Nadiad city. He was also a press reporter of Sindhi newspaper, Hindu. Even as religious personality he didn't believe in blind faith. He married his son on the day, which was not at all shubh for the marriage. He delivered strong message to the masses. He also challenged many palmists, showing his hand to them, and everybody told that there is no sign of education in the marks of his hand, whereas he graduated master degrees. He also took part in various drama and was having his own team and performed in various parts of India. He took early retirement due to social activities. At present where Jigyasi Pariwar lives in Jawaharnagar, which is not locked since years. And whole house is managed by the community of Jawaharnagar. Accident, 2013. Posted on May 17, 2014. On this date May 17, 1 year back I encountered an accident in Ahmedabad. I was working in GWSSB Gandhinagar till about 8:30 at night for designing and estimation of important scheme B and D network, and the preparation was on verge of completion, and for estimation of pumping machinery I called Shri Rakesh Patel, General Manager Mechanical, GWL. This was my last call before accident. I went to Ahmedabad with Mr. Narsinghani's vehicle, as on that date I was without my vehicle and my vehicle was parked in Pushkar bungalows near Mr. Khatri's residence. Mr. Narsinghani insisted me that he shall drop up to Pushkar bungalows, but is told that drop me on the highway and little walk is good for me. While crossing the road I am unable to remember, some vehicle hit me badly and I was unconscious. Many people gathered around me and my mobile phone also fell, but it was still in working condition. Somebody from the public dialed Shri Rakesh Patel, which was the last dialed number, and informed him Shri Patel was on the site, and he informed other board staff. Also from my telephone people dialed on my home number to my wife Asha. She insisted the unknown people to do everything for my admission into any good hospital. I became conscious in 108 ambulance and asked that where they are taking me to. They were taking me to Civil Hospital Ahmedabad. My head was bleeding and my shirt was full of blood and my jaws were fractured at 2 places. In the meantime my father-in-law along with his neighbor Kishore chased 108 ambulance to the civil hospital. My friends and colleagues Mr. Khatri, Mr. Narsingh Hani along with his Dr. Son, Mr. Dinesh Parmar, Mr. Prakash Shah, Mr. Bhavik Rathod and others rushed to the civil hospital. Basic tests were done and all were happy that there is no internal damage in the brain. I was discharged at night on 2 o'clock hours. Meanwhile my wife along with children Yash and Sonam came by road and after being normal I spoke to them that it is nothing to worry. They reached in the early morning on May 18th which is birthday of my brother-in-law Mukesh. I proceeded on leave for next 1.5 months till complete recovery. During my recovery period my wife and children took good care of me. I therefore thank some unknown persons, my friends, wife, children father-in-law, mother-in-law, mother and for the same. Admission of Yash in BDS, 2014. From my blog in that year, this year my son Yash Ramchandani got admission in BDS. College in Goenka Gandhinagar, thereafter changed to Nadiad and ultimately to Karnavati School of Dentistry from which he completed BDS and is now perusing for admission in MDS. Telephonic interview, N. B. Thumber, 2014. Shri N. B. Thumber is the retired officer of GWSSB, he was executive engineer of PH Works Division Surat during June 20, 1967 to May 23, 1972. India got independence in on August 15, 1947 and first incumbency available is from September 4, 1947 and at that time Shri N. B. Kandolkar was the executive engineer. Britishers first landed in Surat and hence it could be presumed that this division was in existence pre-independence, also the incumbency available is from September 4, 1947 i.e. Just 18 days after independence, it is predicted that the division was in existence prior to independence. This motivated me to talk to Mr. N. B. Thumber and spoke him on telephone on date May 13, 2014. I had never face-to-face conversation with him previously even though he happily replied to my some question. As per his narration based on his old memories, he stated that the circle office was at Pune, and chief engineer's office was in Bombay, now Mumbai. The first jurisdiction of the Surat division was from Thane, Maharashtra, to Kutch, Gujarat. There were subdivisions in the jurisdiction of Baroda estate and one subdivision was also in Dwarka and Navsari also. The basic work under this division was individual water supply schemes and also support to local bodies for water supply scheme was provided. Just after independence another division in Rajkot was opened and thereafter Jamnagar was opened. Division in Junagadh was opened in year 1954 and thereafter Bhavnagar division was opened. On asking the name of superintending engineer, he could not recall his name but stated that after retirement he joined Indian Hume Pipe and was working in Porbandar where there was manufacturing unit. Due to his old age he could not recall much but assured that I can call him any time to know more about the old memories. I also knew few old things which I am sharing. There was no division in Kutch and Adipur subdivision during 1960s was working under Jamnagar division. In mid-1950s Kandla Port was in creation and township of Gandhidham was under construction at that time. First sources of the township and Kandla Port were created by port authorities in Viri and Nagalpur area in Anjar Taluka. In Viri there were artesian tube wells in which water was coming out naturally and a gravity pipeline of RCC pipes was laid from Viri to HSR Adipur and up to Kandla Port by which without any pumping water used to reach to township and port. Kandla Port project the coming water demand and reported to the Surface Ministry N.A. Letter was wrote to the Chief Engineer Bombay for creation of new sources for future demand of Gandhidham and Kandla Port. Hence Adipur subdivision came into existence. And scheme based on tube wells in Dudhai was executed, also scheme of construction of Tappar Dam was started through Irrigation Division and work was executed by Sindhu Resettlement Corporation as the contractor. There was a RCC pipe factory under Sindhu Resettlement Corporation and pipes of old Kandla water supply schemes were manufactured by SRC. During that period Surajbari Bridge was not there and there was long route to reach Jamnagar. Also there was another sea route from Kandla to Navlakhi also to reach Jamnagar. Kandla Airport was existing at that time. Flight between Kandla Airport, which is situated near Rambagh Head Works Gandhidham to Jamnagar, was daily service and cost of air ticket was cheaper than the long public transport ticket, hence even PNs used to travel by air for file submissions and carrying water samples for testing in Jamnagar laboratory. PHS subdivision was in Z7 bungalow, which was common wall to the house of Shri L.K. Advani. L.K. Advani's father Kishanchand was working in Sindh Resettlement Corporation at that time, reading a book titled No Talking, 2014. This book is written by Andrew Clements. It is a fiction based on the 5th standard student in New Jersey. It is the story of a boy named Dave who incidentally read a book about Mahatma Gandhi to know about India. Teacher had given homework to the students to write something about India. Dave was amazed to learn from the book about Mahatma Gandhi that, for many years, one day each week Gandhi did not speak at all. Gandhi believed this was a way to bring order to his mind. Dave thought of experimenting the same, and the story goes on. First he tried of himself and avoided talking in the class. Then he shared with the other classmate and a competition was held between boys and girls not to talk for 48 hours. But the question was that students are compelled to reply to the teachers. Hence limit of 3 words were kept in a sentence and everybody shall reply in short. All the words after 3 words shall be termed as illegal for which it shall be counted. To avoid talking students had to smile more. Students focused all their energy on listening. The story tells about how they behaved in science class. In the music class in which they were to sing, which breaks the restriction of 3 words. The teacher understood their problem and said that clapping is not talking and humming is not talking. So the students instead of singing hummed and clapped in the classroom. All the episode annoyed the school principal and she tried lot to make them behave normal. She shouted at Dave, talk, but Dave shouted back and said, you have right to remain silent, and whole shouting back at principal he spoke 27 more words which was being counted by everyone. But at the end of the competition the girls didn't count those words and the game was concluded in tie. The principal also felt sorry about that, asked the students to continue and said, silence starts now. The story tells about of power of non-violence just by no talking. This is just the fiction. But in actual sense Mahatma Gandhi had not stopped working even after his death. He continues to work from his books. Reading Gandhi commands the mind of the reader and his message of non-violence is still spread. Songs of Master Chandur, 2014. Many songs are composed by Master Chandur, out of which one song is Kabutar Kabutar. Kabar Kari Ach Akula Ja Kabar. This is the song in which message is sent through pigeon to the bellowed. The main beauty of composition is that Master Chandur had used 3 poems by 3 poets are used in a single song. This is the rare thing that in a single song, poems of 3 poets are used which is related to one theme. Old Sindhi poets were broad-minded. This is the example of that. Nowadays these type of things does not happens in any Bollywood songs of any other songs of regional films. In the song preamble of the theme is in form of poem of Shah Abdul Latif, the all-time great poet of Sindhi language. After first preamble part is completed the song starts with poem of Master Chandur in which pigeon is sent for the message. Poem of return journey of pigeon with message is composed by Parsuram Zia, who was close friend of Master Chandur. If you listen the song you can get the idea of 3 poets. As Master Chandur narrates the names of poets in his song. This shows the greatness of Sindhi people in the field of music and poetry who are from the Indus civilization. This song is heard by many people, and after reading this, if you hear the song again you will like it more than before. Reading APJ Abdul Kalam, April 2015. This month April 2015 it happened to be holidays from 2nd to 5th, which includes 2 public holiday, 1 restricted holiday and a Sunday. Normally during holidays is come from Gandhinagar to Kutch, which is my hometown, and often visit some site of work as it is assigned to me. But during few visits I felt that without administrative powers I am wasting the time of the field staff, and I knew that progress of work needed some prompt administrative decisions at local level which I was not authorized to take. I am having unique way of working which nobody even intends to copy, as it is painful to be like me in the government organization. In these holidays I didn't even thought to visit the site of works in Koch, but visited the Professor N.R. Malkani Library hunting for some books which could soothe my mood. I got the book of APJ Abdul Kalam published in year 2012. You are unique. Reading Kalam is always good, it is always written in very easy English and written as per the theme of the title. Some touching things in this books I wish to share you. Challenge of Jamshedji Nusserwanji Tata for developing steel industry in India. The British industrialists told Jamshedji that, if you Indians can make steel, we Britishers will eat it. About Dr. Stephen Hawking of Cambridge University, who even though suffering from a motor neuron disease is a notable scientist, and a Bulgarian painter Zlatko Bojajev, who painted with right hand and after paralyzed he started painting with left hand, which were equally good. About Srinivas Ramanuj, it is said that Professor G. H. Hardy of Cambridge discovered Ramanuj, but we Indians failed to discover him. Still there are many genius which are not identified in our country. It was written by Kalam that it is destiny of our nation that an Indian brain requires an acknowledgement from a foreigner. Handling failures, written about Professor Dhawan, who believed in success is yours, failure is mine. Professor Dhawan took responsibility of failure of first launch of satellite, and after successful mission gave credit to Kalam and his team. In proportion of scientists and engineer index, US ranked 4th and India 60th. Being an engineer, I am disappointed about this, and also felt that nowadays engineering is governed by non-engineering heads, and engineers don't hesitate to work as per their wish. They think that they could only survive in that way. Engineering ethics has very little say today. Change of employment pattern. In 1960, agriculture sector employment part was 74%, and in 1992 it fell to 62%, and it is expected to fall to 50%. Growth in industrial employment, from 11% in 1960 to 25% in 1992. I witnessed the economic stability of Rajkot and Mumbai due to development of small-scale industry, whereas in Koch there is growth of large-scale industry, and even though there is no economic stability, still today for sustainable economic small-scale industry is better than large industries. Kalam narrated the same in his chapter 21, Don't be afraid to be small. It is really touching when you read Kalam. Value of History, 2016. In December-2016, I visited Udaipur. I had visited Udaipur 2 times before also, but this visit was in the period of demonetarization of 1000 rupees and 500 rupees notes. The vision of looking to Udaipur was different this time. Rajasthan is the state where there are few rivers, larger portion is desert, and this state does not have any coastal boundary, so there are no seaports also. Earnings through tourism is the main source of income of the people of state. What is encased? People are encasing the valuable history. There are many foreigners coming to Udaipur, and they are interestingly hearing the narrations given by their tour guide. I found that foreigners are taking great interest in history. In their own country they may be having lakes larger than Udaipur, and they may be even more beautiful than the lakes of Udaipur. But what attracts is the palace besides lake, so the importance of lake is increased. People were interested here from the guide about elephant fight on the location where there is just a thick wall behind which elephant are kept. It seems interesting in hearing without the presence of elephant. Even seeing live elephant may not be interesting. So anything connected with the history becomes interesting and attracts the tourist. I came to conclusion that history is also the big resource, hence history shall be preserved, and its value increases as the event and structure becomes old. From my post, International Meatless Day 2014. November 25th is International Meatless Day, celebrated on the birthday of Sadhu T.L. Vaswani. During the day I want to share how my family turned vegetarian. Till about year 2002 we were non-vegetarian. In year 1992 I married Asha, who is from Wadhwani family, and my sister married Naresh from Tawani family. In year 1993, all 3 families Ramchandani, Wadhwani and Tawani were non-vegetarian. Tawani family are followers of Radha Somi, and after taking Nam, they turned vegetarian. Thereafter my father also became follower of Radha Somi and became vegetarian. In the meantime my wife didn't like to take non-veg meals. One day after eating tandoori chicken, she dreamed a poor unfeathered chicken trembling as if requesting not to kill him. She shared with us and gradually we all turned vegetarian. Today, without taking any vow or following any panth or taking Nam, my family had turned vegetarian, and now we are happy that we are vegetarian. There are a lot of things which tastes more better than non-veg. Also many veg meals also have protein and other nutrition as good as non-veg. Remembering Udaipur connection of Sri L.K. Advani on his birthday, 2014. Working in GWSSB, we had a Udaipur subdivision in Z7 bungalow, and common wall of the office was residence of Sri L.K. Advani, where his father Kishanchand Advani and his cousin, sister Radhi lived. Udaipur subdivision was the first subdivision of Koch having division at Jamnagar. At that time bus fare of Jamnagar was more than air fare from Kandla airport to Jamnagar. Even peons used to go by flight for submitting posts and many time carrying water samples for testing. L.K. Advani's father worked in Sindh Resettlement Corporation, which was constituted for rehabilitation of Sindhis from Pakistan. L.K. Advani had visited Gandhi Samadhi of Udaipur on October 2, 1998 when he was Minister of Home. He also visited and inaugurated Saad Bello campus, which includes Gandhi Samadhi, Pond, by Pratap Samadhi and Nat Mandir, Temple Complex, on July 9, 2003 along with his wife Kamla. I also remember that he visited house of Modi Kriplani to console him after death of her sister Soni Kriplani. Incidentally, my mother was present during the occasion, but I was unfortunate for not being there at that time. I also remember the communication of elder people that Sri L.K. Advani used to walk on the road along with his relative late Advocate Malkani during the time near about emergency admission of Sonam in MBBS 2016. This was the year in which there was last Gujsit for admission in MBBS, also NEET was introduced for admission. She got admission in LG Medical College Mananagar Ahmedabad. She has completed MBBS and now undergoing one-year internship in same college.